Welcome to another week of Soccer Down Here. John Nelson here, you there. Greetings from the southern environs. It's the vacation week where we stare at the Gulf of Mexico. So the Gulf of Mexico is that way. And here's where we are currently for the week. And it'll be interesting to see how much of this actually is standing tomorrow. Welcome to Soccer's Morning Show, Soccer Down Here. We got a lot to talk about Atlanta United. We got that to talk about. We've got transfers, transfer rumors, all the stuff. And we'll get into that in hour number one. We've got opening kickoff and once again teasing what is being shipped from, I think, Turkey. We'll get into that too. We've got plenty of stuff going on. But today, the seas were angry, my friend. The seas were very, very angry. So, you look out on the Gulf, you know that the storm is coming. And it's supposed to be here overnight. Wind advisory is supposed to start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it is supposed to be 40 cubits of wood, heavy rain, all that kind of stuff. And it will be interesting to see how the house responds, how the dog responds, and how the internet responds. So tomorrow, I will just go ahead and say right now, tomorrow may be a bit of an adventure. So we'll see what happens by tomorrow. But John here, you there. Hi. We got a national championship game in football. That's later today as well. But we got a lot of transfer news. It's silly season. We got a lot of stuff with Atlanta United. We have updates. We have things. And it is all across the board. So we've got all the kinds of stuff. So let's see. Good morning, Abby. Morning, Alex. Morning, Pars. Morning, Modiflow. I am intrigued, Modiflow, about the new manager coming to our beloved Swansea, and see if he can help get us out of mid-table. So Pars, and let's see, Pars Ricky, good morning. And Abby's boycotting the football game tonight, the American football game tonight. So once again, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We've got rumors, some updates, and since, once again, we don't have an afternoon show or a weekend show, which we probably should work on, we got some catching up to do with Dax McCarty and that idea and a bunch of other things. But opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on either Twitch, our YouTube channel, or the 280-character app. And once again, right there is the QR code. Thanks to everybody who has kicked off their day with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15 when you do get to Kickoff Coffee. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. I bring to the table this morning our friends at Minnesota United. And I don't know if you saw this late last week, but it was interesting to say the very least when Minnesota United posts that they have news. And it's not really the news that you kind of are looking for when you're this close to getting a season up and going. We all know about Adrian Heath and how he was probably prematurely released. I mean, if you're not making the playoffs and you got a head coach, why are you doing what you're doing? Adrian Heath gets released, and they work their way through the season. They've got a sporting director who isn't there yet because of visa problems, and it's anticipated that he would be there, I think, late this week. We're 7 weeks away from the beginning of the regular season. So your sporting director is in England. He's got visa issues, and he's not there yet. So what you had done is that you had as your interim, you were happy with an interim coach. It's like, no, we're not chasing after a full-time guy yet. We've got an interim and we're cool. That was Sean McCauley. And Sean McCauley was the head of Loons 2. On Friday, Sean decided he was done. So your interim head coach, who was the head coach of your second team, basically just decided, you know what, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm out. I'm gone for whatever reason. 7 weeks before the regular season starts, Minnesota United is now on their second interim coach, third, and they're still awaiting their sporting director coming from England to hang out and get things squared away with the roster for 2024. So here's how it was phrased. McCauley left the club to pursue other opportunities. Pretty much anything other than here. Minnesota United announced interim head coach Sean McCauley has departed the club to pursue other opportunities. Cameron Knowles, formerly Minnesota United FC2 head coach, has been named the Loons' first team interim head coach following McCauley's departure. And then they mention about Knowles and what he's been doing. Minnesota United wishes Sean all the best in the future. Would like to thank him for his contributions to the club on the pitch and in the community over the past 5 years. Minnesota United's search for a permanent head coach is underway. Yeah, I would hope so. So let's see if we have this right. So Minnesota United at the end of the season had a head coach, let him go probably a little early. You had an interim. You got through the season. Your sporting director still overseas, not quite in the United States yet. I mean, obviously not that you couldn't sit there and do things over Zoom or StreamYard or phone or what have you, but still waiting on him to open up his office in this side of the planet. And your interim coach, who was your interim coach while you were searching for a head coach, is now no longer your interim coach. Your interim coach is gone, and the head coach of your second team is now your interim coach for your first team while you're waiting for things to happen. So Minnesota United, 6 weeks, 6 weeks before the season starts. We are in the 6th week before the season starts. Sporting director still on the other side of the planet. And you're on your third interim head coach since the end of last season. Minnesota United has some work to do. And I'm kind of underselling it a little bit. But Minnesota United, I don't know, do they not know that there's 6 weeks before the season starts? So we will see what's going on with Minnesota United, but yeah, when that came through all of the breaking and broken news, that was something that could not be missed. So yeah, McCauley was their interim head coach after Adrian Heath was fired. Finished the season 10, 11, and 13. The Loons were 11th. So McCauley gets through the season. He's their interim coming into this season. Then he's gone. So you're on your second. So you're on your second interim head coach. Then you're waiting for your international coaching search to take over and figure out what you want to do. So, Minnesota announced in December McCauley would continue in the role of interim head coach in heading into the 24 season. So they announce one thing. Yeah, Hutch, it might be ChatGPT at this point. I know, yeah. Heath had been head coach since the absolute beginning. Knowles, a video analyst for the team since 2021 after 9 seasons with Portland, 6 as an assistant, 3 as a second-team coach at T2. So, Minnesota, good luck. We will be keeping an eye on you, Minnesota. Yikes. So that's where we are. Yeah, so that's opening kickoff. keep an eye on Minnesota United. They could be off the rails quickly. That's your opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. That's your QR code for those of you who are watching on the video version on the 280 character app or on the YouTube channel right there. That's your QR code for Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested in youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Reminder, once again, here's the scarf for our friends at the Marshall Islands. Once again, it is now actually being shipped from the manufacturing point, and it's heading this way. So I'm hoping in the next week we will have a price point and we will let everybody know. But once again, that's to help out our friends at the Marshall Islands. And it is a Marshall Islands commemorative scarf because they want to do some stuff here in 2024. And we are hoping that this can help kickstart things for them in 2024 so they can be discovering what national team is going to look like in 2024 and beyond. So there you go. So we'll keep an eye on all of that as well. So that's the scarf. And we'll keep an eye there as well. When I know more, we'll let you know more. And later today, hour number 2, it's going to be pretty jammed. Bart Keeler is going to join us for Bart on a Monday. And since nothing is no longer Monday on a Tuesday, and we'll go from there. So Abby is sending me things in Messenger, and it's going off in my headset. I don't know if it's going off in on air or not, but she's helping me out with Kickoff Coffee and QR code, so I will do that. All right, so Bart's coming on to start hour number 2. We've got to talk about Camp Cupcake roster. We've got to talk about what's going on in women's soccer. Sam Kerr is an injury. His beloved Arsenal and FA Cup and getting bounced by Liverpool and looking after strikers and things. And what are you shopping for? 10:30, it's Prem and Proper, the review with Maddie and Drew. They're going to come on. Since Maddie was on vacation at the end of 2023, we get her midseason awards. Drew will vent about Manchester United. Maddie will discuss her Newcastle knocking off Sunderland in the big Tyne-Wear derby. And we will discuss all that stuff. So a very, very busy hour number 2 that we have here on Monday. We got to talk about Mbappe. We got to talk about Brazil. We got to talk about the new manager at Birmingham in the international part of things. But let's start with Atlanta United. We do have some updates on some folks. And it looks like Steen Gregerson is on his way to this particular part of the planet. And it will be medical. Medical happens. You end up with, can we not talk Mbappe? Basically, Ricky, it would be a headline. With Steen Gregerson, it looks like he has left Bordeaux and he is heading to Atlanta. Medical looks like it is in the plans. And the fee that we were talking about in that 1.8 to 2 million euro, it looks like that's still there. It looks like that's what they're staring at. No budging one way or the other. So it looks like Gregerson is inching its way closer and closer to being a completed deal. And we'll keep an eye on that. And if anyone is at the airport, like maybe chasing after Stefan Mbia, if you find Steen Gregerson at the airport, take pictures and video. Let us know. So if you're hanging out at Hartsfield Jackson on Monday, and then you're you see somebody who's like 6'4" that might be wearing some Bordeaux stuff or might be wearing some Atlanta United stuff, working his way into the airport. If you see Steen Gregerson at Hartsfield International, take pictures. So let us know if he's here. Let us know if he's here. And so it looks like that much closer to getting Steen Gregerson over the line. All right. The other big interest that we had right now is with Bartosz Szlies, and contributor Niall has been all over this one. When you look at the updates on Szlies, it appears that Legia Warsaw is really trying to jack up the price. No real surprise that he would be they would be jacking up the price for Bartosz Szliz. And the number that is coming out of the front office looks like that they're saying, and once again, you take this stuff as negotiating points. If you're chasing after a target, you get 5 million euro. The 2 to 2.5 that was initially being put out there in the market, Lecce last week said that the 2 to 2.5 was too rich for their blood. And right now, the word out of Poland, various sources, you have Transferry and a couple of other talk shows and things like that. Legia Warsaw sporting director Jacek Zielinski rejects offers for him at the level of £2.5 million. And this comes from our friends at Goal 24. So, but once again, we sit there. That's what silly season's all about. Because if you're looking at a number of, X, of course, the guy at the other end of the table is going to sit there and go, nah, not interested. How about this? And you come up with some completely and totally just random number that means absolutely nothing to anybody. And it's like you're negotiating. Okay, 2. How about 8? No, 8 is too much. How about 3? 12. You get something like that. But Zielinski, quote, I reject offers for him at the level of €2.5 million. Color me shocked. The fact that he would later leave for free or for symbolic money could pay off in the form of trophies and successes. The priority is to win trophies, but I do not rule out any option. So he's open to a deal. Financially, we have seriously improved. We are out of trouble. We are in a situation where we don't have to sell anyone. No, but everybody always has a price. Sports-wise, we would definitely like to keep him. His contract expires in a year. So our friends at Goal 24, Bartosz Szliz, the $2.5 million has been rejected, at least from Jakub Jablonski's piece at Goal 24. We reject such offers. Legia Warsaw still have not sold him to a better club despite incoming offers from abroad. At the same time, in an interview with the Piłka Nożna newspaper, he indicated what amounts would be firmly rejected by the club. Admitted that Legia Warsaw waiting for a real and this is once again translated, so bear with it. Must be admitted that the Legionnaires are waiting for a real transfer bomb and want to make good money on their player. And so that was the interview with Zielinski from Goal 24. Once again, Atlanta United and Lecce, €2.5 million, 11 million in Polish currency. So if they want a Polish representative, and this is the copy that continues from Goal 24. So if they want a Polish representative, they will have to reach even deeper into their pockets, and the Polish club will have even more opportunity to make money on him. In the current season, Szliz is one of Costa Runjaj's soldiers, once again, players. In the matches under leadership, played in exactly 33 matches, which he scored once and assisted 3 times. So that's what we're looking at with Bartosz Szliz. $2.5 million. No. 27. No, and then we'll get into that. So, Ricky, to your point, get a signing announced per day. Well, Derek Williams, according to Doug Robertson of the AJC, was signed. So, don't know because there's been nothing official from the club about it. But Doug had in one of his tweets, or whatever we're calling him now, one of Doug's write-ups on the 280-character app that Williams had signed. It was a couple days ago, but he did mention that Williams had signed. But once again, we don't have anything official from the club, so we're right there. So Derek Williams, drafted in reentry, possibly, probably, maybe signed. Gregerson apparently has left Bordeaux heading this way, and he's having the medical, and 1.8 to 2 million euros been agreed on. Schlie's, right now we're looking at the big boss at Legia Warsaw sitting there saying it ain't going to happen at 2.5, and he'll come up with some imaginary number. But once again, it's always about the negotiating point, and do not be surprised if a part of the pass would end up being a part of the deal with Schlie's going forward. Because once again, if Legia Warsaw wants to have any kind of tie and wants to have, like what Ivan Toney and Peterborough United, if Ivan Toney gets sold for the 100 million, Peterborough makes I think it's a 10% sell on, is what they would have in a situation like that. So don't be surprised if the number, if Schlie's does come to pass, the number is of a lower margin and there's a percentage of the pass. Same thing that we talk about with players outbound, like a Thiago Almada. 30, 35 might be the number. But if the number's a little lower and Atlanta United retains a piece of the pass for a player like Thiago Almada, that could be very lucrative down the road. So keep an eye on Schlie's. And Dax McCarty is the other one that came across our bow on the weekend. And Dax McCarty would bring in some experience at the back, much like they wanted to do with Ozzie Alonso, but Ozzie sadly was injured and could not give them after that great 6-match run to begin things. He could not, come back and give quality minutes until, the end of last season when he came in. And that was what the idea was going to be. The idea of a spot start here and there, come in quality minutes, be a closer, those kinds of things. You get that with Dax McCarty. Dax McCarty, once again, not officially official, but it's in the pipeline. And you can thank Tommy Scoops, Tom Bogert at The Athletic for that. So that's what you're looking at here. You're looking at all these reinforcements at the back. Derek Williams gives you that experience at the back. Once again, he can be that mentor to the younger guys, to an Aiden Torres outright, to Noah Cobb and Efren Morales in the middle. Then the same can be done with Dax McCarty, having that 35, 36-year-old presence there as a deep midfielder who, can give you that bit of sandpaper and be frustrating as hell for the other guy when you bring him in. Once again, because you're looking at what with Open Cup and Leagues Cup and the runs that you're looking to make, you're probably staring at what? So let's see, 34-game regular season plus playoffs plus Leagues Cup, which would be 2 plus run-in, so maybe 5 or 6. That puts you at 40. Open Cup might be 45 max. Playoffs, I mean, you're looking close to, say, 50. Modiflow, enjoy your performance review. Glad you could drop by. And do not be a stranger. So you're looking somewhere between 45 and 50 matches. 45 and 50 matches for all of these individuals. And to have a Derek Williams, to have the younger players in behind, to bring in a Gregerson who would be a 6'4" center back, to have, if you were to bring in a Bartosz Schlie's to be another player in the midfield and have Dax McCarty in behind, you're starting to see the pieces coming together here and see what's on the mind of the front office for Atlanta United. So Williams apparently probably already signed. Dax McCarty being mentioned. Gregerson getting closer. Schlie's, it's going to be in debate because once again, we're January 8th right now. And with January 8th being January 8th, that means that 30 days has September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31. So 30 days. So you're looking at, 23 weeks or 23 weeks. Wow. 23 days of possibles and probables and trying to figure out, okay, what's going to happen. And I know that we all want to sit there and have all of the deals done so you could be in the barn and have everything all laid out for you. I get that. Well, but, Michael, I mean, you can't. I know Michael says the club's really going to have to step it up if it's going to play 50. but you have to plot for that. Plot for the largest scenario and work backward. You don't want to sit there and just plot for 34 games and then go, oh, it's like, oh, crap, we're in these other competitions. I mean, at a bare minimum, you're in the playoffs, and let's say you first round of the playoffs gets you to 37. So 37 takes care of your Major League Soccer season. That's if you get into the first round and you are 36. Let's say you're 2 and out. You lose the best of 3 and it's 2 and done. So that's 36. If you're in Leagues Cup and it's the same way that it was last year, league play, you're a group stage, that's another 2. So that's 38. Open Cup, you want to say maybe 40? You win your first round game against a lower division club. But once again, I'm also assuming that there's going to be some kind of a happy middle ground where you will have first team players allowed to play with second team players, and that the looking at the Open Cup scenario, currently what it is versus what we've seen in the past. So you're looking, so worst case scenario, 39 or 40. So you're looking at that. You've still got to be prepared for schedule compression. You've still got to be prepared for all of these other things. And you've got to have a roster and you've got to have resources that will get you to that 40 games. That's still an initial load of games. If you, once again, you get out of league, you go to a 3-game series, it's 41. You go to the second round, you can say 43 or 44 in the playoffs. You make a run. You do some things. I mean, you're looking at low 40s to mid 40s. You've still got to be prepared for that when it comes to all of your roster preparation and things like that. So that's what you're looking at. You're looking at 40 to 45. And if you make a run, you make a deep playoff run, you're looking closer to 50. But you've got to have that depth. You've got to have that kind of access. And you've got to have that level of comfortability, to create a word, to sit there and go, okay, all right, we're going to be ready for this. So that's where things stand. There was also another name that was floated around, and it was Gabriel Peck. In all of the research that you do over the weekend, he's at Vasco da Gama, and most of his time, and right now he's got a value, according to our friends at Transfermarkt, and it's been on the rise, of $6 million. And there are interested clubs. Galaxy, Timbers, Atlanta United was mentioned. But once again, this goes into the rumor category, and this is at the end of the line. So Vasco da Gama's winger, Gabriel Peck, has played on the left, mainly on the right, and he's been an attacking midfielder as well. Vasco da Gama, the only place he's been through their system. He's 22. So Gabriel Fortes Chavez is the full name, but Gabriel Peck is who he's referred to as at Vasco da Gama. So Atlanta United apparently had offered in the neighborhood, and once again, this is check your sources stuff, but Gabriel Peck at Vasco da Gama, there was a $6 million offer on the table, and it looks like the Galaxy might be going all the way to 8 figures and going $10 million to pick up the 22-year-old. So don't know how much there's tied to any movement involving Gabriel Peck to add him on the wings, Morning Dell. And so we'll see. But really, the ones to tie yourself into right now: Derek Williams, Dax McCarty, Stian Gregerson, Bartosz Szliz. Those are the 4 that you're staring at right now to help you out in midfield and at the back line to add to anything else. But once again, we still got 3 weeks left in this window to try to figure out what you're hunting for. Emilio is pleased. He says it's nice to have this activity early in the window for a change. But once again, remember, just because we have things to talk about, and like we have in the past, doesn't mean that there haven't been things to talk about. It's just that we don't know them. So just because there might not have been any news doesn't mean that there's nothing going on. For like 9 negatives in a sentence that my mother would drive me crazy for, or I would drive my mother crazy for. Just because you don't see something doesn't mean that nothing's happening. Like I said, I'm throwing in like 9 negatives in here to let you know that And once again, just because we ain't seeing something doesn't mean that there's nothing happening. I'm trying to trim down the number of negatives in these situations. Hutch, you're putting up too many big words this morning. Hutch is talking about defenestration. That I'm going to have to see now. Now you got me. You got me curious. I'm going to have to look these words up and everything. Like I said, just seriously, let me know what's on your mind this morning with all these folks. And like I said, we got Bart coming up. We got Maddie and Drew coming up. That's hour number 2. We are going to catch up with Jaden Hibbert's head coach up at UConn, Christopher Bondi. That's going to happen later today. That'll be posted. We're finally catching up with Coach Bondi. That'll be posted to the network later on this afternoon. And we will have our normal rounds of folks. I think we're getting back to full song this week with all of our guests and all of our slots and chasing after news and things like that. When or if, and we'll get into Brazil as a part of the international window as well. Yeah, Denise is out, and they announced the head coach from Sao Paulo FC is now wandering over to be the man in charge for the Brazil national team. I give him like 8 games. They'll be frustrated. They'll find a reason. Yeah, he was wrapping up all of his stuff at Sao Paulo, and now he is the new man in charge for Brazil. Dorival Jr. exited Sao Paulo, and he is now in charge of the national team. Yes, and Dell, at 10:30, we will have Drew Dickinson come in for a bit of a 3D to discuss what's going on with your both beloved Manchester United with Wigan. So, if there's a loss in the FA Cup today, I'm sure I will hear you, Andrew, yelling from points all over the place if Wigan manages another massive upset in the FA Cup. We can talk FA Cup and whatever else is on the board this morning. Wrexham got a win. They moved through. Manchester City, by the way, welcome back Kevin De Bruyne. Man let his hair grow a little bit. So Kevin De Bruyne has let the hair grow. He's got a bit of a helmet going right now. But he's back. They knocked off Huddersfield no problem 5-0, and we are supposed to get word on what the matchups are going forward. But there are a couple of replays, and I think the only real shock result was the non-league side getting the win to continue their advance. But now the biggest question is if you're Wigan, if you're Wrexham, do you want West Brom? Do you want the non-league side to try and be the lowest ranked team? Do you want that matchup? Do you want Manchester City? What do you want? That would be the question for me. Do you want Manchester City, or do you want to continue to win to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into the tournament? But yeah, to your point, Dorival Jr. says it is a dream come true that a 61-year-old Sao Paulo head coach. This is a personal dream coming true, which was only possible because I had recognition for the work I did at Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo president Julio Casadas said CBF's invitation to Junior is another piece of evidence we are on the right track. Won Copa Libertadores with Flamengo in 22. Took Sao Paulo to their first Brazilian Cup trophy last year. Casares, I wish Dorival luck in his next challenge. CBF president Ednaldo Rodriguez fired Diniz on Friday, saying he wanted to advance the process of choice of a permanent coach. Diniz, remember, was splitting his duties with the national team and Fluminense. Literally, it's like, I'm coaching Fluminense. Oh, I've got a friendly or I've got a tournament. I'm hopping over and coaching the national team. That wasn't going out real well. Had a contract until days before the Copa starts. Rodriguez had expected Carlo Ancelotti to take the Brazil job. Ancelotti recently extended it at Real Madrid. Rodriguez refused to answer questions about Junior during the wake and funeral of Mario Zagallo in Rio, understandably so. Brazil's next match is in March. Friendlies against England and Spain over in Europe. Timo Werner has flown into England to complete a Premier League return. Jordan Henderson has been offered to Bayern Munich as he wants out of Saudi Arabia. And apparently Jordan Henderson, if he leaves, would be responsible for a $3 million tax. So we'll see if that happens. Tony Mowbray is now the new head coach at Birmingham City. It is their 13th manager in 13 years. 13th manager in 13 years. Third manager this year. Eustace, Rooney, Mowbray. Eustace had him in 6th. Rooney had him in 20th. Now it's Tony Mowbray. Sacked back in December after 15 months when things went sideways with him in the front office. So there's all of that. Whoa. Dell showing something in the 280 character app this morning, forwarded something from the Men in Blazers. A mural in Buenos Aires featuring Messi, the Pope, and Conan O'Brien. That's an interesting mix. I don't know how that came to pass. It's like, how, if you're painting a mural, literally, if you're painting a mural and you want one with Messi, obviously, if you're in Argentina, Dell, I'm a member of the Don's Trust, by the way. As he says, my friend works for Wimbledon. We were sad they lost. If you're in Argentina and you're writing, if you're painting a mural, and you're like, okay, what do I put in that mural? Messi, okay, Messi will work. We got that. Who else? The Pope. Okay, that'll work. Yeah, okay. So we got Messi, we got the Pope. All right, we got room for one more person. What do we do? Conan O'Brien. Sure, why not? I don't know where that comes from. I mean, masters in their own domains. Messi, we know he's a god in football. The Pope is the Pope. You can't go wrong there. And one of the true gods of comedy, Conan O'Brien. I don't know. I don't know where that third one comes into play. But yeah, it's on the 280 character app for those who want to go find it. But yeah, Dell has forwarded it from Men in Blazers that Messi, the Pope, Conan O'Brien. Messi, the Pope, and Conan O'Brien. I have no idea. No idea how that one came to pass. But it's out there. You go to Argentina, you get that mural. I don't know. I have no earthly clue. Well, and yes, the Pope is from Argentina. That too. That's all of the semantics that are attached. Yeah, Conan. I don't know if Conan's from Argentina or not. Yeah, I do not know. I don't think Conan's from Argentina. I don't think he is, unless there's something that we don't know. I'm just, I'm trying to figure it out. I have no idea. Yeah, we're mentioning other stuff when it comes to who's up, who's down, who's out, all that. Other news, and it's partly Atlanta United. Inter Miami has transferred LGP to River Plate. That one's done, out the door. LGP is now fully River Plate. Permanent move announced Saturday. Initially loaned 2 years ago, contained a purchase option. And so now officially LGP is River Plate. New England Revolution signed a keeper, Henrik Ravas. And Ravas comes across the Atlantic from Polish top flight side Widzew Łódź. Under contract through the 26th season with an option for 27. Cardinalfo, who is still fighting the baloney. Ravas is an experienced keeper, performed well over in his 3 seasons in Poland, showing progress each year to develop into one of his league's best shot stoppers. Physical traits and top-flight European experience should allow for a seamless transition to MLS. Henrik's arrival strengthens an already talented goalkeeping core. We look forward to seeing him on the field with our team in preseason. 2016 to 21, he was at Derby County before going to Slovakia and then going to Łódź in Poland, 161 appearances. Slovakia's third-string keeper during the Euros. Caleb Porter had a quote after and so you're dealing with the transfer of Georgi Petrovic. Tomas Václav never featured. Earl Edwards Jr., Jacob Jackson, and now Henrik Ravas. So Henrik Ravas is now part of the goalkeeper group with New England Revolution. Galaxy signed Japanese defender Miki Yamane, and Yamane. This was a big price tag. They acquired right back from J1 league side Kawasaki Frontale under contract through 26, and this is to join Maya Yoshida, who came in last summer. So GM Will Kuntz said some nice things in 2 sentences. The LA Galaxy came out with a video montage of his best moments. Spent his entire career in his native Japan. 15 goals, 36 assists, 290 matches, 2 goals and 16 caps for Japan, including the 2022 World Cup. Entered the offseason seeking a right back after Caligari's option was declined. They also have Mauricio Cuevas in the academy to help things out. So they signed an experienced right back. Brandon Vasquez, I don't know if you saw it, but Brandon Vasquez had taken a lot of his luggage into the Monterey airport, posted on all of his social media that Brandon Vasquez had made it to Monterey and he was looking forward to being a part of Monterey. Yes, Conan is from Massachusetts. Yes, Conan is from Massachusetts. I don't know where Conan ended up in this. You got the Pope, who's Argentinian. You got Messi, who's Argentinian. And you got Conan, who's not. I mean, did you need somebody who just could fill that space that you knew, they had, like a size 8 head, that he was, rather tall and lanky. You needed somebody that could fill that space. So I'm just saying about everything that you're looking at. Charlotte has a bid of around $9.5 million for Albert Gronbach. It would be one of their biggest transfers, bringing him over from Bodo Glimt. The LA Galaxy bid for Ramon Sosa at $10 million has been rejected. Pedro de la Vega, we will have Nico Moreno on Thursday to continue to update us on the de la Vega situation. Gronbach, by the way, an attacking midfielder, and this will probably also help you out to lessen any damage from losing, say, Swiderski. Rising Danish Youth International, 4 goals, 2 assists in Conference League this year. Club record sale for Bodo Glimt at 9.5 if it goes through. The Fire signed David Paraba from Stal Mielec, 21-year-old Polish talent. You might remember Paraba last year was with Crown Legacy and MLS Next Pro. This was a nice little below the radar move for the Fire, considering that's all I think the money they have left is all of the you got to do all the below the radar things because you don't have a whole lot of money left. You don't have a whole lot of AM left, considering you just set it on fire and bringing in 4 or 5 people, and you're just like, okay, 800,000 of AM here, 400,000 of AM here. They took all their AM and just shot it out of a confetti cannon. That's what the Fire did. But David Paraba, decent pickup. Let's see if he translates from MLS Next Pro over into the land of the Chicago Fire. Cincinnati finalizing a deal for Corey Baird, and then that would be from Houston and over that. This was something also, and Colorado did complete the $3 million move on Georgi Mihailovic. So big move for them. Keep an eye on this piece of news. It came out over the weekend. We talk about, yes, it is in fact, they looked at it. I swear. You had Chicago Fire sitting there. And it's like, okay, how much AM do we got? Just jam it right into the confetti cannon and just shoot it in the air. Well, we'll get into Brandon Vasquez coming up in just a sec. So something to keep an eye on when it comes to the beginning of the season. Oh, by the way, the Cotton Bowl, Inter Miami. So Messi and friends are going to play FC Dallas January 22nd, 2 weeks from today, at the Cotton Bowl. Don't know how many thousands of folks will be there, but capacity is 92,000. Portland close to signing Maxime Crépeau. Crépeau wanted a big raise from his 350, and LAFC was like, nope, we're going to bring in Lloris, pay him that much money. John McCarthy, and I love how I love how LAFC, John McCarthy was a part of LAFC, and McCarthy goes across town. Yeah, Portland. Yeah, Portland's got like 9 keepers in. I remember the Trey Muse signing. John McCarthy goes cross town to Los Angeles Galaxy. And LAFC in their 280 character app says John McCarthy signed with another club. He's like, he's a part of our history, signed with another club. Didn't mention LAG by name, just said signed with another club. I mean, that was crosstown petty if ever there was crosstown petty. Keep an eye on this story as we get closer, and we'll mention it to Bart too. But negotiations over a new collective bargaining agreement between Pro and the PSRA, the Professional Soccer Referees Association, have not resulted in a new deal. Barring changes over the next week, meaning this week, a work stoppage feels imminent, said one source briefed on the negotiations. They were talking to The Athletic. Another source characterized the negotiations between the two sides as being a very discouraging process so far. If it drags on, and this is quoting The Athletic, if it drags on, a work stoppage could leave MLS needing to find replacement officials at the start of its season and preseason. The current CBA between PSRA and Pro, which has been in place since early 2019, expires January 15th. So it expires a week from today. So we're sitting there and we're looking at news and all these other kinds of things. The collective bargaining agreement with the guys that we yell at some of the time, not all the time, expires January 15th. And you then have roughly 5 weeks to get it done because Messi and Friends host RSL as your season opener February 21st. So you've got 5 weeks, technically 6 from today. Season starts 6 weeks from today-ish. You've got 5 weeks after the collective bargaining agreement expires between officials and governing bodies. You've got 5 weeks to get that squared away. PSRA is the union that represents MLS, USL, NWSL. Pro oversees the professional officiating landscape, including assigning games, assessing and educating officials, identifying new talent, and an associated organization, Pro 2, oversees officiating. NWSL, USL, Next Pro, PSRA, and Pro 2 ratified a CBA of their own last year. Pro is going to face an additional challenge as the Fed, the U.S. Soccer Federation, will withdraw its financial support for the organization in the near future. Federation provided nearly $2 million in funding for Pro in 2022, according to its most recent publicly available financial statements. So, tell you what, we're going to put a bookmark in that. We're going to put a bookmark in this, and we'll bring this up with Bart off the top coming up in a handful of minutes. And so we'll discuss this and other things. Let's get into gossip, rumor, and innuendo overseas and what to watch today. We're going to watch Manchester United and Wigan. That definitely we'll watch. EFL Cup news conferences today, all that kind of stuff. Now, I'm realizing that the article involving the negotiations with Pro and the PSRA, that's going to be a bigger animal, so we'll bring that up with Bart. Foot Mercato, apparently our large international nightmare is over, according to our friends at Foot Mercato, that Mbappe's agreed to a deal to join Real Madrid at the end of his contract. Less money than they offered in their discussions in 22, yet Mbappe could make a move to the Premier League. There's your Mbappe discussion. Juve pulled out of the race for Calvin Phillips because of the loan fee and the breakdown of his salary, according to Fabrizio Romano. The Serie A club have also dropped their interest in Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, with the fee proving too costly. That's from the 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. The end of Juve's interest in Phillips could boost Newcastle's chances of signing him. That's from the 4-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Liverpool could land a 7-figure windfall if Jordan Henderson is sold by Al Ettifaq. Everton have set a £60 million fee for Amadou Onana. Arsenal looking to make the move for the midfielder. Chelsea, Manchester United, AC Milan, all watching Jean-Claire Todibo at Nice. but the French club hoped to keep hold of him in the January transfer window. Barcelona have reportedly been offered a chance to sign Jesse Lingard. Barcelona and Jesse Lingard, not necessarily two pieces in a conversation I would have anticipated. 31-year-old is a free agent since leaving Nottingham Forest at the end of last year. Ivan Toney saying all the right things. He says he has unfinished business as he prepares to make his return for Brentford after serving an 8-month suspension for breaching betting rules. Had a hat trick in the Brentford B game late last week. Juve ready to open contract extension talks with Weston McKennie. Mikel Arteta says the chances of his club signing a striker in the January window are not realistic. West Ham will look at a move for Wolves defender Max Kilman. They raised the funds by selling Naif Aguirre this month. West Ham they also have injury concerns. Newcastle's Sean Longstaff could be on his way out of the club if the right offer comes along. 3-letter paper. Spurs hoping to complete the signing of Romania defender Radu Dragosin from Genoa at the end of the week. That is also from the 4-letter paper. So once again, take some of that stuff, with the proverbial grain of salt as we go forward here. But some stuff looks like it's happening, and we'll keep an eye on all of that. What to watch today? Obviously, Wigan, Manchester United. That's part of the big things to watch. And that is the only thing on the board. Wow. The only thing on the board today is Monday Night Football, FA Cup, Wigan and Manchester United. Business picks back up tomorrow with D1 Arkema, Gummy Bear Cup. And by the way, Gummy Bear Cup on Tuesday, Middlesbrough and Chelsea. There's no VAR in this round because Middlesbrough's stadium does not have doesn't meet the proper specifications for VAR. So there is no VAR in this round across the board and it starts with Middlesbrough and Chelsea tomorrow. Coppa Italia quarterfinals, Bologna Fiorentina tomorrow, but no VAR in the Gummy Bear Cup because Middlesbrough Stadium can't handle it. They don't have the specs. So, Dell, the FA Cup should be later today after the last game because then they'll figure out, okay, winner of this versus winner of this because we do have a couple of replays and things like that. So, the FA Cup draw is supposed to be after the action today, and we will get to the chance to see. Like I said, I'm just intrigued. I want to see what Wrexham gets. I want to see what Wrexham gets. Do they put him up against a heavyweight? Do they give him the big payday? Or do they sit there and they go, eh? Another couple of things this morning that are going on. All Caps have signed Denmark Youth International left-back Nicholas Dyer from Midtjylland. Klaus Egeland was the first to report the deal. 103 appearances with Midtjylland. Klaus Egeland likes to work for BBC Mediano Tipsbladet, 20 years at Extrabladet. So Klaus Egeland dropping the news about Nicholas Dyer going from Midtjylland to All Caps. Denny Bouanga, and I don't know if you saw Denny Bouanga's Instagram or the IG or the gram or whatever the kids call it, but there was a picture of Denny Bouanga with the airplane emoji. And he's sitting in the back seat of a car. I think it was the back seat of a car. And he's doing like the peace out sign. A lot of folks were wondering, okay, does that mean that he's hopping on a plane and he's going to training camp for LAFC? Apparently not. Denny Bouanga tells L'Equipe he wants to leave. Quote, via Google Translate. My objective is clear and stated. I'd like to come back and play in France or in a European club. So when Denny Bouanga goes on Instagram and he gives the airplane emoji, the Patrick Bamford goal is ridiculous, by the way. And Leeds in pink, I kind of dug it. That was interesting. But when Denny Bouanga, now we know, when Denny Bouanga is in the backseat of a car on his Instagram and someone takes a picture from outside the car and Denny Bouanga is like this, it does not mean that he's heading to camp at LAFC. It means that he wants out. And Denny Bouanga might be leaving. So no Carlos Vela. Denny Bouanga might be leaving. And we'll see what happens. It is a Monday, and it is 10 o'clock, which means hour number 2 is starting officially. And that means that we bring in one of our favorite dudes, Bart Keeler. What's up, dude? Can you hear me?
I can.
There we go. I had all this set up, and it's just like I'm getting all the positivity, and you just kind of stare at me. I'm like, wait a second, what's wrong with my setup? What have I screwed up today?
Nope, you're good, John. It was me who messed up.
No. What's the mug this morning, by the way?
Drink coffee, do good.
Okay. I kind of
Kickoff Coffee sponsor me.
There you go. I kind of stumbled into a separate topic that I did not initially have on the board.
Oh, okay, great.
And it was
why Arthur Smith should have been fired at 11:59 instead of 12:02, or
well, I mean, we can talk some American football down here if you want.
No, we don't need to.
I mean, it was the beginning of Black Monday. Technically, I mean, everybody thought Black Monday was going to be, and Ron Rivera is apparently also on that list.
Yeah.
But by the way, since you brought it up before we get into other things, the whole thing with the fake kneel down and rushing touchdown at the end of the game, right now, it appears that the decision in New Orleans is going to be one of two things. Yes, Jameis Winston signed a 1-year deal. Is Dennis Allen going to stay, or is Jameis Winston going to stay? That's the question now, because it apparently the lunatics, the inmates are running the asylum.
Yeah.
If you have a team decision where Dennis Allen said take a knee, Jameis Winston admits after the game in the post-game scrum that it was a team decision that they wanted to get one of their buddies a touchdown, either Jimmy Graham or the running back, and it ends up being the running back. So you fake a knee, you fake victory formation, hand the ball off, and go in and score.
Yep.
At that point, I'm starting to fight. Well, I'm starting to fight, dude.
Yeah, like that's the one thing that I think Arthur Smith is legitimately aggrieved about, is because it wasn't that they scored a touchdown.
No.
It's the fake kneel down, then go. Because we all understand trying to get a player a touchdown or whatever at the end of the game because, performance incentives, like, we all understand that those happen. But that was it again points to Jameis Winston just not really getting it ever. The dude is not a professional quarterback.
Sorry. And I'm the Florida State alum on this show.
I know. It's Jameis Winston is lucky he's still employed, because I don't understand why he is, to be quite honest. That was disappointing to hear.
Oh.
So we can move on to actual football things, though.
Sure.
Real football.
But no, look, if you want to get your buddy a touchdown, just line up normal. Line up in a T formation, line up power eye, hand the ball off, and sit there and figure it out.
And it's an easy explanation to Arthur Smith, like, hey man, like, we wanted to get this dude a touchdown for performance incentives, and Arthur probably would have been like, oh yeah, totally, I understand. But the fake kneel down is what I think people really got.
Oh my God. I absolutely would have been just swinging at people at that point.
Yeah.
Did you see, and it was something that we talked about here in the tail end of hour number 1, was that the PSRA and Pro and a collective bargaining agreement is about a week away from not existing.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that you could have some, how do we phrase this? Atypical individuals in this 5-week period.
Yeah.
Leading up to the MLS season. I mean, there's some serious ish that could be going on here if they don't come up with a resolution. And apparently, by all indications, they are as far apart can be. Well,
the reporting was one a 90% pay increase, and then Pro is like, we'll give you 3.
Yeah, it's like the rank and file. The rank and file. Let me see if I can find
Yeah.
the numbers. Yeah, in December, sources, and once again, quoting our friends at the Athletic, in December, sources say Pro offered an overall 3% pay increase to its referees.
Yes.
PSRA had demanded an increase of up to 90%.
Yep.
With the largest of the increases reserved for its lowest paid officials like ARs and fourths. Earlier last week, Pro increased its offer marginally, in quotation marks, said one source, offering an overall raise of 4 to 5%, according to another source briefed on the talks. If the refs voted to strike, or if Pro locked them out, MLS would be forced to use replacement referees in preseason, potentially when you get your kickoff February 21st. Obviously, you get an agreement, then this goes by the wayside. Base salary, according to the previous CBA, probationary center referees, refs with less than 2 years of service, make a base salary of $50,647 for their work, supplemented by a match fee. More experienced refs make anywhere from $95 to $108. I mean, ARs get $1,350 a game. For someone who may not necessarily, it's like, oh yeah, I want to try to make sure that we don't take this situation for granted, because you could be in some serious ish if this doesn't get sorted out.
So I think I will say that this won't be as big of an issue as I think some people are going to make it to be.
Okay.
Because the preseason stuff is quite honestly irrelevant. Now, obviously, referees want that preseason to also get in shape, get in match focus, all those types of things that players also want to use it for, and coaches want to use it for. Also, with especially this season, we have some very big changes to how we administer games. So that's going to be something that during the preseason referees will probably want to work out. But at the end of the day, I don't think that having your top level pro referees in preseason is not going to be, if you don't have them there, it won't be catastrophic. That said, based on the reporting, it doesn't seem like they're particularly close. And I don't know if 5, weeks is going to be something that this is going to magically be, resolved. So I'm not sure. Labor negotiations are always weird, because as much as you want to side on or go on the side of the labor, you do have to look at this and go, you're making $100,000 a year and you're complaining about what's that pay increase that you're actually looking for? What I would like to know, and I haven't seen from the reporting, is the pay increase from the annual salary, because those salaries sound pretty nice.
Yeah.
Or is it to the game officials pay, right? So you mentioned that, maybe starting out, you get 50,000 as a center official, and then you get about 1,500 a game.
Yeah.
1,300 a game, I think.
Yeah. 1,350.
Now, that said, the assistant referees, the new assistant referees, they do seem to be getting shafted. And so if we're trying to get pay increases that are more toward the bottom rung, then that makes a whole lot of sense. And that's something that pro and MLS MLS owners do need to kind of pony up a little bit for, in my opinion.
Let me ask you this. When do you have your off season? When are you not reffing games? Do you have any downtime?
Right now.
Okay.
Right now. Mainly because even the adult leagues are referee shoutouts, Station Soccer, we take that break during Christmas to New Year's, right? Mainly because at the adult league, we're refereeing adults and we're all off work anyway, so we're done. But even this summer, like, I'm refereeing be an adult league, but we have a lot of youth games going on because, and I support this. I support kids getting a break, but I also support clubs offering centralized league and training opportunities for the kids. So yeah, right now is my break. I take in the summer we have a downtime, but it's not a full break.
When you come out of your full break, how long does it take you to get back into the swing of things and feel safe with your own rhythm now that you hop back in?
So that's one of the things that, again, I think parents need to understand with younger referees, with referees at their youth clubs, is these preseason tournaments are preseason for referees as well, because while I'm saying that we're, kind of in a break, I'm not refereeing as fully as I normally would. The games, like when I referee in the summer, most of the games that we referee, we have rules, and then those always get abridged because, it might be, oh, we're playing a full 40 minutes because it's this age group. And then I get there and the coach is like, yeah, we're playing 30 minutes and we're going to do 3 water breaks because, it's 95 degrees outside. Which again, we're all in favor of because it's summer. This doesn't really matter. No one's going to any sort of national championship. This is just for kids to play soccer. Let's keep them safe. Those preseason tournaments, and some referees referee one. I'm one of those who referees multiples because I like the money. Those are our times to get accustomed to new law changes. So obviously we have new laws go into effect over the summer break. Usually we come back. And so that first tournament in August is new laws of the game. And that's, again, what we're talking about with MLS is a lot of times you don't have massive changes, but you just have different ways you have to read and interpret the game. So with MLS this time around, you have a whole lot of new administrative kind of rules, is the way I would put them. It takes a little bit of time for you to get that into your head. It truly does. And then it obviously takes time for you to get into that match fitness, because while you may be training, running after a 16-year-old who's, after a long ball has been kicked from the center back to the striker, I don't do that on a daily basis. That does take a little bit of time for me to get used to.
What?
Yeah.
So how long does it take to get you back to full song where you're comfortable with your pacing?
Well, for me, it does come down. It takes me about a tournament, right? Because by the end of the tournament, I feel like I'm back into it. But I've also been doing this I'm 34. I've been doing this since I was 15. So you do the math, almost 20 full years of refereeing at this point. For me, I get back into it a little bit easier. I also, again, at my more experienced level, understand how to be a little bit more conscious of how I use my energy. And this is actually something funny that happened with me earlier last season. Is I was refereeing a tournament, and we had a lot of new upper level referees coming to assess us to try to be mentors and stuff, because that's part of their training. And one of their comments was like, oh, you need to run a little bit more. And I was like, well, this is my first game of 7 this weekend. So what we're not going to do is be going 100%. I know what that 85 to 90% looks like. That personally, I can manage a game personally very well, but I'm not going to give you 100% of my first day on a Saturday at 8 a.m. when I have 7 more games that weekend. That's just not going to happen,
No.
No. And that is the biggest difference between what I'm doing and what we're seeing at collegiate and above, right? Even at the high school, you're doing multiple games. When you start working college, you're doing one game. You might be doing multiple games in a week, but you're doing one game and an assignment, right? So you have to give 100%. You have to be fully locked in. Anywhere below that, you have to understand how to kind of conserve your energy so that you're not winded by the end of what you're doing. Yeah.
So Dell wants to know, what level do you referee?
So I do anything from the U9 Academy up until U19, ECNL, NPL, all those elite leagues. Elite being in quote marks.
Yes.
I come just short of doing MLS Academy, but that's just because I'm not personally in that pool of referees. But I do similar level stuff.
Would you? So then, what would it take for you, other than the time investment, to go and be a part of that next level and get into the collegiate chain and do D3, D2s or next pro? What would be those next steps for you if you wanted to go that way?
So it is a lot of time. I have met all the time and stuff requirements that I could, but it's also a lot of money, right? And so it's not just time on the field; it's time off the field. It's money that you have to invest because you have to go through the certification process. You're paying to literally go to these clinics, and while that stuff may be a tax write-off, you're still paying for it.
That is true.
So it does take a lot of time and money to go up the ranks. Now, as you continue to go up, there's some help, if you will. And I'm not quite sure what it means for the professional level, but I think it's a little less there's a lot of money involved, but there's, I think, more support to get you there because they obviously want good referees at the highest level. But it does take money. And then after that, because the pool narrows so much, they're a lot more centralized. And you just basically say, hey, I want to do this. This is how it works for high school anyway. They send out the email and say, hey, any referees want to do that? And you say, yeah, I want to do it. And at that point, you're all in one big pool for the most part.
Okay.
And so same with collegiate. They may have different ones for regions, I think, but it's still a very centralized pool. You're not like at my level, I have to go to specific clubs and be like, oh, okay, well, SSA is this a signer and UFA is this a signer and Inter Atlanta is this. It's not how it works as we go up. And that's what Pro was doing as well. It's a centralized assessment and assigning organization.
And Dell also, with a follow up, just wants to know if do you just ref here in the Atlanta area?
Oh yeah, I don't. I mean, I can go elsewhere. Like for example, Disney is one of the ones that usually the Disney Showcase usually is asking for referees.
There you go.
Because they just have a lot of people or a lot of teams playing because it's a big tournament. But yeah, I mean, the other problem here is you have to be registered in each state. Florida, the Disney tournaments are a lot of those one-offs. They're not as they don't care as much because really all it is just making sure you can get paid. But yeah, you can referee just about anywhere. But a lot of states you do have to get registered in that state. It can be as simple as just saying, "Here's my name and my certification number."
Yeah, it's like being a lawyer. It's like you pass the bar in Georgia, and
yeah. You pass the bar in Georgia. I think you're certified in like 35 of the 50 states, and I think one of those is like Louisiana because they still use French law or something.
Yes, there you go. Camp Cupcake, I wanted to discuss with you as well.
I do want to answer one question though, John, about
go for it.
Reference.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm not quite sure how this is going to work because Pro is one thing, and then there's Pro 2, which is kind of the developmental path.
Right.
They are under a CBA still. So I think the solution is a lot of these Pro 2 officials, which you'll see in League 1, League 2, sometimes Championship, sometimes NWSL. Right. You'll see those referees taking charge of the matches for MLS preseason and possibly, maybe the first month of MLS season. So I don't know if that's for sure because they are technically separate CBAs because Pro 2 is not MLS level, NWSL Championship level. Pro 2 is to be that developmental group, but they are separate, weirdly enough.
Yeah. Well, gee, things that sound the same are separate in the sport. Who knew when it came to governing bodies and organizations?
Yeah. And I don't know if they're part of PSRA or not. I haven't been able to determine that because PSRA definitely mentions MLS, definitely mentions NWSL, definitely mentions USL Championship. I think it mentions League 1 as well. But again, Pro and Pro 2 are different. So Pro 2 is still under a CBA.
Yes. Camp Cupcake, I wanted to discuss this with you because we were kind of filibustering on Friday waiting for a roster announcement.
And it happened live during the press conference.
Of course,
I got to attend, which was fun.
And so, literally, we were like, "All right, so is it coming? Is it coming? Is it coming?" Yeah. And so, of course, it didn't. And it was, we tried. We tried to filibuster as best we could. But with this group, there are a lot of zeros attached to it. 17 newcomers in this group. And there's some really interesting names that are attached, including Cade Cowell, who's being recruited at the moment, it seems, by teams in Liga MX. But you've got some really young guys in here. And when you looked at this release, what stuck out to you?
Well, I think what stuck out to me is there's a lot of names that even kind of the hardcore fans and people who would project rosters would not have included. And this is where Camp Cupcake is a little weird because, yes, in theory, there's everyone's available who plays in MLS. They're not playing right now. But for example, and I'm sure we'll talk about him about in the snubs, but there are some clubs that maybe have a little bit more extended and hard preseasons. Looking at one in South Florida that maybe didn't release or want a player to go, and that player also maybe have made that business decision of no, I need to be a part of my club for preseason. And this applies to some of the, for example, Brandon Vasquez, right? Probably if he's staying in MLS, he truly gets to stay. I know Greg addressed this during his press conference, saying that they wanted to look at other people, but I'm not sure why you need to look at Brian White when you have Brandon Vasquez. I don't understand why Brian White is still considered for the national team. We can talk about that more, but like, this is just a weird space. So that roster tends to be a little interesting as it is, but there's still some names on there that I just don't understand why they're here. They don't fit into the U23 group. I don't see them at all being a part of the senior national team going forward. Even if you say, oh, they might have a good camp, I don't need them. They're not good enough to start even scratching the depth chart. And I say that because they're all 24 and older. At this point, we don't need to take a flyer to say, oh, are you good enough? Because you had maybe one decent season in MLS, especially looking at some of the center backs. It just is what it is.
All right, so then line them up and knock them down. What were the ones where you're sitting there and you're going, bruh, what was the decision here?
I mentioned Brian White. I'm sorry, yeah. I don't understand Brian White. I understand he had a good season last year with Vancouver. I'm not knocking that. I just don't see where he fits into the striker depth chart. You've got, and this is where we can talk about Brooks Lennon, but I don't know where Brian White fits in. You've got Balogun. You got Pepe. Sargent's playing again. Haji Wright. Daryl DK just scored over the weekend. And now you're bringing in a guy like Vasquez, or you brought in a guy like Vasquez. You still have Ferreira out there. Where does Brian White fit in? Especially when you're also looking at a guy like Duncan McGuire, who's in that U23 pool.
Right.
So what's the point? Is it just to get a look at a guy who had a good season in MLS? That's fine. Again, Brian White, throughout his entire career in MLS, has been not at the level of any of our other strikers. I'm sorry. I just don't understand it. Yeah. The other one is Shaq Moore. Thanks for playing in the World Cup. You were terrible in the World Cup. I don't need you anymore. Look, shout out to the kid from Powder Springs, but I don't need you to be on this national team anymore. And I know Greg specifically mentioned him as culture and fit and all this kind of, older guy to do that. I don't need you. I'm just glad that DeAndre Yedlin's not here.
Yeah. I mean, you look at this group, then in net, you're looking at Callender, Celentano, and Schulte.
Celentano and Schulte, love that for the U23 Olympic stuff because they are pretty good MLS goalkeepers.
Defenders, Nathan Harriel, DeJuan Jones, Shaq Moore, Ian Murphy, Jackson Reagan, Miles, James Sands, Nkosi Tafari, John Tolkien, Caleb Wiley.
Yeah. A lot of these guys Olympic eligible. And I think, again, should have been, in my opinion, the primary goal of this camp. Obviously, a guy like Miles Robinson, I get he's a USMNT kind of stalwart. He needs to be here to just make sure he's still fresh. Same with DeJuan Jones, right? I think I'm fine with those guys being in here. Jackson Reagan, not Olympic eligible. He's 26. What purpose does he serve here? But a guy like Ian Murphy, young kid, Nathan Harriel, young guy, Olympic eligible, had decent seasons in MLS with teams who did pretty well. Yeah, great to bring them in.
Midfield, Josh Atencio, Aziel Jackson at all caps, Jack McGlynn, Aiden Morris, Sean Zawadski, all 23 and under, and then Timothy Tillman is the sixth midfielder.
Yeah, we've been wanting to see Tillman in a camp for a while. Finally got him in. The rest of them I love because, again, we're looking at the U23 group, trying to see who can actually be a member of that Olympic squad. And also, I think this is a little bit of a tip of the hat of which clubs are going to actually release players for the Olympics or not. And we can talk about that when we talk about a couple of snubs.
Okay. Forwards by Raktarovich, Cowell, Kamungo, Luna, McGuire, and Brian White. I mean, that's some heavy-duty names there, and a lot of them are U23.
Yeah, they sound really good MLS names. They're not international caliber. You know how I know that? Cade Cowell doesn't need to be here. I'm tired of seeing Cade Cowell for the U.S. men's national team. I'm sorry. He is U23 eligible. That's great. Maybe he'll turn the corner soon. Maybe that move to Mexico will help. I just don't see how he's progressed enough as an actual professional starter for 3 years now
Yeah.
He's still who he is, you know. The kid from New England, I'm not going to try to pronounce that name.
Bajraktarevic.
Bajraktarevic.
Bajraktarevic. Yes.
I haven't practiced it enough. That's a great call up, because 18-year-old played a lot for New England as an 18-year-old, you know, considerable minutes. Same with Duncan McGuire, same with Diego Luna. These are guys who legitimately have chances to impact the team, the U23 team at the Olympics this summer. Like legit. Duncan McGuire, Diego Luna especially. You know, Luna's been part of that youth national team setup. These are guys who can really impact the team in the summer. And so getting them into camp is great. Kamungo, unfortunately, it's a great story. Love that for him. I don't really see where he fits into the national team picture. Got to be real honest.
Snubs.
Well, three I want to talk about, because I don't know where their club situation, like if their clubs wanted to let them go. The first is Benja Kramaski. And I only say that because Miami's playing a 17-year preseason in 15 different continents. I feel like they're playing on Mars, apparently.
Yes, they are.
So I get why Kramaski isn't here, because I think he's like, well, the game is the 20th. I don't want to be, doing that and then have to report. I get it. But from Chicago, who has nothing going for them whatsoever except for these two players, Chris Brady and Brian Gutierrez should be in this camp. So I'm a little disappointed in Chicago for not releasing them, because they had good years, especially Brady. And I think he's a better. I would rather Brady in here than Calendar. I know Calendar has been in camps before. He doesn't have a cap, so it's not like he knows what it means to play for the national team yet. I would have preferred to see Brady here, honestly. So those are guys that I do wonder what their club situation was going. Another guy who I'm not sure why he wasn't released was Obed Vargas. I know he's kind of toying between Mexico and U.S. This friendly and this camp wouldn't have meant anything. And it's definitely a guy who could be part of the youth national team this summer. So that one was a little bit of an interesting one, why Vargas wasn't released, but then Jackson Reagan did come. Other one, maybe Indiana Vasilev, kid from Savannah area.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jalen Neal, who has been part of camps before. I'm just, I'm not going to say that he must be part of this, but again, a guy at the U23 level who I think could be really helpful this summer. And I'm not sure why Galaxy said no, or if he said no. Again, it's not an official FIFA window. Anyone can say no for any reason. And then that's kind of the reason. Abby, I don't know if they weren't released or they not asked. Greg's not going to tell us those answers. It could be a combination of a lot of things.
All right.
They're not here.
And then last thing I wanted to catch up with you about was Brooks Lennon. I know that you had mentioned Brooks as a part of the conversation and not being named.
A lot of people think Brooks Lennon was snubbed and it's the greatest crime against humanity for some reason. That was this outlash on Twitter. And Niall, I'm going to point at you because you and I went back and forth on Twitter. And I understand that we love Brooks. And I will be the first person to defend Brooks Lennon here in Atlanta, because I think he is a much better right back than the guy that we had before that everyone thinks was a right back, but wasn't actually right back. He just played right back in like 2 games. Brooks Lennon, though, is 26 years old now.
Sounds about right.
So he doesn't factor into the U23 equation. I don't know where he fits in the right back depth chart, right? You've got Serginho Dest as your first. You've got Joe Scally. You've got Brian Reynolds, who's younger and playing at a higher level. You've got DeJuan Jones, younger, has been preferred for a while, and I think being able to play left and right back is nice. Brooks's versatility of being able to play right back or right wing isn't really, I don't think he's exceptional at either.
Right.
When you compare him to the national team. And despite what people want to say about defensive improvements, he's still a defensive liability who's played on a team that's given up 107 goals in 2 seasons. Now, that is, I think, that's not a Brooks problem. I also don't attribute it necessarily to Miles. I think that's Gonzalo Pineda not knowing how to set up team defensively to not give up stupid, easy goals. I think that's also having Mateus Rossetto as a defensive midfielder. But the reality is Brooks hasn't. Sorry, John. I know y'all have to stay in him because he's from Brazil, but he's not good. It's not. But at the same time, you look at Miles, you look at Brooks. They're still part of that team. So I can't justify Brooks being a snub when I don't think he's contributed that much to a team that has given up a whole lot of goals. And his really only plus side is his attacking contributions, which are great, but we have players who do that already. And again, where does he fit in the depth chart? Do I think he's ahead of DeAndre Yedlin and Shaq Moore? Personally, yes, but those guys are at best 4th or 5th on the depth chart. So you're telling me that Brooks is 5th on the depth chart at 26? Okay. I'd rather see Nathan Harriel.
Okay. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. By the way, addendum, the PSRA and Pro 2 did ratify a CBA of their own last year, so you were correct.
That's what I thought that was true, but yeah.
Yes. All right, so what's going on at Soccer for US POD before we head into Prem and Proper?
We are recording tonight about the Camp Cupcake roster, and so hopefully we'll get a episode to you soon. I'll be out of town Thursday through Monday, so we'll see how quickly I can get this edited.
All right. Well, as always, my friend, great to have you on your Mondays at Bartimus Prime 19 at Soccer for US POD. Be safe and stay dry. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
You do the same. Enjoy, y'all.
All right, that's Bart. And Bart, as always, it's great to have him on. So that means it's now time for the three-way dance to wrap up hour number 2. It's Maddie and Drew. Was a poet, didn't know it. And we welcome back Maddie because Maddie felt compelled to actually spend time with family and stuff during the holiday season. So Maddie's assignment is going to be discussing her mid-season awards like we did with Drew last time. Drew, you're on a hit and run status. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So hit and run status with you, sir, with Manchester United. Maddie, feel free to ask Drew any questions if you see fit after I ask the first question. But Manchester United, Wigan today. Are you? Where's the angst level going up against the possible upset of the century?
Angst level it's kind of leveled out right now. I did very good over this past, what was it? I don't know, 3 or 4 days, 5 days. I didn't really process anything Manchester United until about last night, knowing that I was going to come into this. I tweeted a few things over the weekend about a few of the players going out on loan, Pellistri and Hannibal deciding to go to Sevilla over Everton, which I would have liked to have seen him stay in the Premier League, but Everton playing so well right now and Dyche kind of having his preferred 11. I'm uncertain of the playing time he would have gotten at Everton. But Wigan, one thing I can say about Ten Hag, as far as putting out an 11, we know it's going to be the best 11 that we have. Mm-hmm. He said it many, many times. If he's going to put out a starting 11, it's going to be the best 11 we have. So I'm looking at, not many changes. Now the changes are going to start to come into effect, hopefully this weekend with Casemiro, Lisandro Martinez, hopefully getting put back in. I don't expect him to be, brought back immediately into the 11, but hopefully enough to get them on the bench and we get them some late minutes coming up because Tottenham is on Sunday. Looks like it's going to be the game of the week this weekend. I mean, you got 2 really good games with Newcastle and City and, of course, United and Tottenham. But, we'll start with Wigan. I don't see there being an issue, John, Maddie, but I've said that about 15 times this season. So I'm one of those types of cats who observes a game, and I can tell you how it's going to go within the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So it's just, right now I'm just waiting for that whistle to blow.
Maddie, go for it.
Oh, Lordy. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, obviously with the FA Cup today, what are your expectations for that game?
Well, I mean, I got to travel, which, United have last season they had under Ten Hag, they had a fairly good away record. And we saw how they were under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think it was the longest winning streak for away games in the history of English soccer. But I don't see too many issues United's going to have today. You can start a few kids. You can start the best 11. On paper, United win 3-0. But again, we know the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for this United starting 11. So it really just depends on what the 11 is, where Ten Hag has them playing. If you have your Rashford on the right, or your Rashford on the left and your Garnacho on the right, and your Højlund through the middle, I don't see any reason why United don't win 2-3-0 today.
Minus 526 in the juice boxes. Your chance for a replay is at a plus 591 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. And Wigan to pull the upset of upsets, being 18th in League One, as we're reminded by Dell, a plus 1293 in the composite. If you want to put some juice boxes down, you're going to get probably somewhere in the neighborhood of plus 1300 on Wigan to win outright. Maddie, you had in the FA Cup this weekend the derby with Sunderland. You survived it, and Sunderland, they decided to welcome the Newcastle fans by putting up banners in Newcastle colors. And what are they thinking? I mean, you still ended up getting the Duke in that one, but I mean, you got a rivalry this past weekend. That was a fun one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was my thing going into it. I even said it on Prim and Proper. I was a bit hesitant because, the past couple times it's been a bit rough, and especially with the way Newcastle has been playing leading up to the FA Cup, I was nervous. I was nervous going into it because, I mean, a lot of people will look at it and be like, it's a team, it's Premier League, and then a division lower. You know what I mean? You would think that there is there's definitely someone who's going to win that game. But, with the way Newcastle has been playing, I wouldn't put it past them to, pull up the biggest upset ever, because that's just how it's been the entire freaking season. But I was very happy with the outcome of that game. Very happy. Isaac is a god, and I love him. I love him so much. He is single-handedly saving our season, and I will put money on that. That is true. But I mean, it's so I like the way that we came out, and hopefully it's going to give us a bit of an oomph that we need going in this weekend to play against Man City. We're not going to talk about that right now.
That's Friday.
That's for Friday, but I'm going to focus on the positive right now. But hopefully it's going to give us a bit of the thing that we need to kind of bring us into what this is.
Yeah. Dell's asking, are you a Newcastle fan because of Miguel Almiron, or is there another reason entirely?
So it was actually funny how I joined into Premier League, because I was obviously an Atlanta United fan coming into the 2017 season. And I really was I knew about the US team coming into that as well. I didn't really know much about Premier League, so I kind of just watched as a regular fan. I just kind of watched any team play, and that's kind of what it was. And then Almiron was the big push I needed, but I still wasn't really defined with a team until last season. Last season was really when I developed that ooh, I like this team. I think this team's really good. Because last season it was the underdog story, and I do love a good underdog story. I really do. I think it's a lot of fun when you see a team kind of rise up in the ranks and kind of pull out the impossible almost. But beforehand, I was actually a Man City, Man United fan, kind of flip-flopping, because that's kind of where my family aligns a bit more. But yeah, I mean, that was more or less last season when I really had a solid allegiance to Newcastle. So that was really what it was. But if you want to put it, yeah, Almiron was a big stepping stone for that. I think he's just a phenomenal player. I think he really is a great player. And I mean, if that's the push, that's the push. But listen, that was kind of my little Premier League story in that aspect. So
she's gone Paul Harvey on us. All right, Drew. Transfers, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Ivan Toney, your gut so far. Ivan Toney is saying all the right things about sticking with Brentford. Thomas Frank is basically saying it's going to take an astronomical offer to get him out of here. Brentford has lost 6 of 7. They need offensive help. What does your gut tell you right now, as we will probably revisit this topic every single week here in the window? When it comes to Ivan Toney Does he stay? Does he go? Where does he go? What do you think?
Real quick, I want to just say one quick thing about the Newcastle Sunderland game from the weekend in the FA Cup. I hope that Newcastle is using this time to ice up, to rest up, to lay in the ice bath, because Sunderland brought the freaking intensity. That was one of the most. I saw somebody tweet, there is faith. I have faith in football after all. Watching some of those tackles from those young kids from Sunderland, I leaped up a few times thinking, oh my gosh, if they were playing on Saturday, that would have been a red card. Oh my gosh, it was just really, it was fun to see. Obviously nobody got hurt, but I enjoyed that aggression, that hunger put back into the game. But I digress. Ivan Toney, my gut feeling says he's gonna excuse me. Wow. My gut feeling says he's going to stay at Brentford until the end of the season. Arsenal, two things with Arsenal and Toney. I'm not sure if they're going to pull the trigger on $100 million in January. B, I think it would be very beneficial if they do, because they are about one striker and maybe two defenders away from being at that Manchester City level. And this whole Arteta out thing, because of an FA Cup loss to the best team in the league, is flipping ridiculous. But we'll get to that on Friday. But I see Ivan Toney. Listen, there are 3 or 4 different suitors, and I would not count out Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe putting their name in the hat over the summer if he stays. They did good business with the Christian Eriksen situation, although Eriksen was a free. He came on a free. I feel it's going to be between Manchester United and Arsenal, but I don't think it will. I think it will be the summer of 2024, not this month. That's just my opinion, and that's how I see the chips falling. Because like you said, John, Brentford needs something, and they're going to put the price tag as high as they can so they can keep him, so they can stay afloat. Because if they get relegated, his price tag drops.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. One more question for Drew, because I know Drew has to go, and then Maddie, your midseason awards coming up in just a little bit. Amad Diallo has dispelled rumors he wants to leave Manchester United after he was bizarrely linked to joining whichever club currently unemployed manager Tony Mowbray is appointed by next. That would be Birmingham City. Reports in Spain have hinted Manchester United and Newcastle interested in signing Andreas Christensen from Barcelona, although the player is keen to stay in Spain despite not being a first-team regular. Drew, what say you?
As far as the Christensen thing, that's the first I've heard about it. But with regards to Amad Diallo, there's so much and I don't want to toot my horn, but there's so much of these reports.
Come on,
daily.
Anderson, toot, hit it.
there's so many of these reports that come out daily that they're just kind of hard to believe. And we're talking about a guy who's been injured the entire season, just came back, and within the little cameo that he had, I really believe that he has almost inserted himself, if not into the starting 11, he is in that 12 to 13 man rotation now, because with Pellistri gone and Hannibal gone, Anthony isn't working out. I see Amad Diallo being a crucial key in the future of Manchester United if he stays. Because look, let's be honest, Sancho's gone within the next 2 weeks, next 3 weeks. I think they're going to move on from Anthony in the summer. Who's left on the right side if Pellistri's not the answer? Because Ten Hag clearly doesn't see anything in Facundo Pellistri, which is kind of shocking to me because he gets regular time for Uruguay. But with Christensen, I mean, look, it didn't work out with Chelsea. It's clearly not working out in Barcelona. Me personally, I'm sick and tired of buying other teams' scraps, and that's Glazonomics. That has been the key for United. I mean, that's almost like that's an Atlanta Falcon move. Okay, let's be honest. So I would like to see some youth, because what's Christensen going to demand, John? They're wanting to get rid of Varane. They're wanting to get rid of Casemiro. That's a total of £700,000 a week. You think Christensen's going to leave that beautiful Barcelona weather to come to United for pennies? No. So let's get real. I like the Olise and Nico Williams. Let's stick with the youth, and let's see if Ratcliffe and Ineos have that formula.
All right, get out of here. We'll catch up with you on Friday, Drew.
All right, guys. Talk to you soon. Thanks, John. Thanks, Maddie.
Because he is too sweet, as it goes. All right, Maddie. Now, time for you to go through your midseason awards because we're just slightly past the halfway point of the season. We'll take it an award at the time. We'll call these the Maddies.
Oh,
And as we are cruising through the Prem. By the way, we're trying to get that hashtag cruising.
we're trying to keep it going.
Trying to get that hashtag off and running.
Okay.
All right. So, who is your midseason MVP in the Premier League?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good one. Jeez, that's so hard.
No, but you can give lists. Lists are fine. You could say whoever's in your in your head for midseason MVP. Because here's the categories that I wanted to go over you with.
Mm-hmm.
Midseason MVP.
Yep.
Coach of the midseason.
Ooh.
Overachieving team and or player. Underachieving team and or player. And who do you think gets relegated? So these are the topics that we have for you this go round on the review. So
Okay.
of any of those topics that you wish to address, you can hit any of them in whatever order you want. So what comes to mind as those topics are now on the table for your review of the midseason here in the Prem?
Well, I think for MVP right now, I feel like this has been said by like multiple different people throughout it. But Mohamed Salah for Liverpool.
Understood.
I think he has been phenomenal this season, like truly. I mean, everything that he has done for Liverpool is amazing. Now, with that being said, going into this weekend, he's suspended for 2 matches, so he won't be playing as much. But I mean, from what he has done, he's 14 goals, 8 assists. I mean, he's killing it. I think he has been really a standout for Liverpool, and I think as well, I love watching them play as well. And I mean, that's why they're at the top right now.
And Dell has given his idea for coach of the midseason, Unai Emery, with what we were seeing from them at Aston Villa. And I can go with Unai Emery because of what he's built in a very short.
Well, it's funny he says that because I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say the same thing because, and that kind of goes with too. Like, I mean, I guess like the biggest surprise is Aston Villa is how they've been able to play. You know, they're only how many points? I'm looking. Yeah. 3 points behind Liverpool.
Right.
I mean, I didn't expect them to be like at the very bottom of the table.
No.
But I did not expect them to be almost in like the top 4.
Right.
And I think that goes to show with the coach that they have and how they've been able to build and develop this team this season. I think that's remarkable. And I'm really excited to see what they do. They play against Everton this weekend. That game I'm very excited for, just because you have both of these teams. You know, you have Aston Villa, who's going in, you know, being at the 2nd place right now. And then you have Everton, who's still trying to fight. And I'm so excited for that game. But yeah, I mean, that kind of answers 2 questions of your own. But Aston Villa and their coach, I think that has been the biggest like surprise to me this season, and I think that he deserves best manager this season for me too.
No doubt. Michael Valverde reminds us that Mo Salah is at AFCON. I don't know, Michael, how did you get Arzon in your auto type? Because it's like the auto type gave him Arzon.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I use Foot Mob, and that's what it told me. Yeah. I was confused, so Foot Mob lied to me. I'm so
there
sorry.
You go. No, so he's at AFCON, but yeah, Villa 43 goals scored, same as Liverpool. 2 behind Manchester City. So, and following in that vein, if you want to look at midseason MVP, maybe an Ollie Watkins at Aston Villa, something like that as well. Underachiever. What team has underachieved for you the most so far here this season?
Drew's going to hate me, but I'm going to say Manchester United.
Wait for him to leave before you give your answer. I see.
I was like going to say, I'm like, if you want to stay for this one, you can. I mean, it's just, you know, with the team, that how they finished 3rd last season, you expected them to come into the season a bit more on fire and a bit more of that like oomph you wanted to see from them. Yeah. And I just feel like we haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I watch one of their games, it's kind of like,
it's kind of painful.
Yeah. Like it's not like enjoyable right now. Like it's just, it's hard to really like get behind a team when they're performing in such a way that like, you know, they have the opportunities to do better and they just don't.
Dell with another obvious thought here. Brentford's underperforming. Yeah, when you don't have Ivan Toney as your talisman and you send you send folks away and you're trying to help your bottom line. Right now, losers are 6 of 7, and they are kind of hovering right over the relegation zone right now. Brentford, I would agree, underperforming, but yeah, you hope that let's put it this way. With Ivan Toney, if you get that 100 million, which was the number that I think Thomas Frank kind of in jest said, 100 million, if you can get folks to help out with that 100 million, let's just say, but you got to keep Ivan Toney. I mean, but legitimately, if you find that price tag that you can't say no to, and you bring bulk in to help you with scoring and you can stay afloat, then I think you're okay. But I think in the short term, I agree. Brentford is underperforming. And Mbumo is injured as well. He's out, I think, another 6 weeks. So your top 2 dudes, one, not around and now coming back. Second one, who had been doing well with Vissa and Mbumo injured, serious injury. And like I said, I think he's out another 6 weeks. And Hutch, Hutch, where Manchester United's concerned, proving that payroll does not. How do you get a not equal?
What?
How do you? Well, no, I'm more concerned about. Okay, so Hutch says proving. Look at the not equal sign. How do you get a not equal sign when you're writing something?
Oh,
How
that's
does that
so
happen?
cool.
Yeah, how do you?
I don't know how to do that.
I'm locked in. I don't know how you get a not equal sign. I'm more looking at the not equal sign than I am about Hutch's comment, because I'm right there. It's like, yeah, you pay all the folks in the world. You plus 2260. Okay. Wow. All right.
Whoa.
Hutch, you got me. Yeah. So I would say underachievers definitely, or most frustrating Manchester United. I think it is coding, Dell. When it comes to Hutch is on a plane that very few of us can match when it comes to brain power. So Hutch will bring in things that shock me. Keystrokes. Okay. Yeah. Hutch is playing Vulcan chess with the rest of us playing checkers. All right, so then who is and I imagine that right now, as we look at things, we kind of agree that Sheffield United and Burnley are probably going to be 2 of the 3 teams that are going to be relegated. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So then who in your mind is going to be the third? Who's going to be the third team that will be relegated with things being the way that they are, considering where things stand? I mean, I had initially thought that it was going to be some kind of a battle for that third slot, but I had initially thought that it might be Luton Town that would be the team that would be relegated, but Luton has shown some fight.
Yeah.
And right now, 1 point out of the relegation zone. Everton, because of the 10-point deduction and the recent run of form, they had a horrible festive fixtures. They lost all 3 matches. They're a point out of the relegation zone. Brentford's at 19. Once again, we talked about them losing 6 of 7. Nottingham Forest with Nuno, which is a shock to me. They've won 2 in a row, so they've got some space. Crystal Palace at 21 points. Who right now, and because we always save all of our shows for playback purposes, who's the third team in your mind that's going to get relegated?
I mean, it's all of those teams. I think with how everything is laying out, it could change. Looking at it, Luton is now obviously in that third spot, but we've seen what they've been doing. They're on fire right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if Everton has to, get it together if they want to pull through and not be in that relegation zone.
Get it together. Get together.
Literally. We can make that a little chant for them. We can send that to their supporter section and be like, here you go.
Get it together. Get together. Hey.
It'll be like a little high school cheerleading.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly where I pulled it from.
Absolutely.
From my high school days back in the 1790s when we actually had chants like that for high school football games. I mean, Everton, Luton Town, you're seeing a lot of fight from them, and I love what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Everton could be facing another points deduction because of FFP. You've got to have all your paperwork in, I think, by the end of this month, and it's got to be decided by the end of the season so folks don't have lawsuits and all that kind of stuff. And then there's talk that Nottingham Forest could be in violation of FFP, which could be, once again, another points deduction.
That's not good.
So is it Luton? Is it Everton? Is it Palace? Is it Forest? Who is it for you? Who's the third?
You know what? I'm gonna say Brentford.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. All right. So Brentford. Okay.
I'm going to say Brentford just because of how they've been playing in the past couple of games against Premier League squads. They're going up against Wolves, which they're 8th right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're going to have to pull some serious something out of their,
Yes.
their back pocket in order to do well in that game. I mean, they lost. They lost against Sheffield United, lost against Aston Villa. They lost against Wolves 4-1 already.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that their track record is going right now, I wouldn't be shocked. Exactly. Thank you. They haven't won since December 2nd. I don't. I think by the way that now they could pull out some miracle. They could make it, but as of right now, with the way it's trending,
Yes. All right.
I think they could. I think they could. If they're not in that bottom one, they're definitely in that from 14th down.
Yeah. And there's basically, as long as you're not 18th, 19th, or 20th, you're okay financially. But Dell has the relegation 6-pointer, beating Nottingham Forest on the 20th. Knowing Nuno, that's going to be one of the most boring goalless draws ever in the history of mankind. Nuno Espirito Santo sets the game back 15 years every single time he's on the pitch. And there's a reason he got fired in the league that we neither endorse nor talk about when it comes to points and standings, is because let's see, who's going to win this battle? Nuno Espirito Santo or Karim Benzema? Who's going to win that battle? That's going to be Karim Benzema. That's why Nuno got ish-canned from his gig in Saudi Arabia. You're not going to win that battle. And so Nuno has found offense for some reason. I don't know where he found it. He found it, maybe at the corner pub on the way to City Ground. And they've been scoring goals, and it has been so anti-Nuno. But that game, the Brentford-Nottingham Forest game, is going to be the most boring, most Nuno-like goalless draw on the planet. Mark my words. 12 days from now, you will wish to have your life back if you decide to watch that game, even though it'll be a relegation 6-pointer probably.
I'm writing that down. It's going to be a quote John Nelson.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
And then they're going to end up scoring 5-6.
Oh, absolutely. You'll end up taking the over on what's going on. Before you go, you forgot to tell everybody what you were up to on your holiday and what you do to kill time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I came on for that little Monday just to kind of talk a bit about it, but I went to Nashville with some of my friends for 2 days. And then me and my friend who does school in Chicago, she was bringing her car up there. And so we did a little road trip from Nashville to Chicago to bring her car up there. And then I was up there for New Year's Eve for a little bit. So it was a lot of fun. I got to drive through so many different states.
Okay, so if you're in Nashville, that means you went through Kentucky. Did you go through Indianapolis and pass by West Lafayette on your way through Gary? And you keep your head down through Gary, Indiana, on your way to Chicago?
Yes. Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast. It was great because I had never really I travel, but I really only travel with family to the beach. So it was I've been to Florida. Ooh, did we? I think we might have gone through.
Is it Lex or Louisville? Where'd you go?
Louisville.
Yeah. Is it Lexington or Louisville? How did you work?
I'm trying to remember the way. I did 2 hours. I drove 2 hours because she was like, I need to sleep. And I was like, I'll take 2 hours. It's fine. No worries. And oh my gosh. I'm trying, because I think it's different. Because I think if we were going from Atlanta to Chicago, it was a different route.
Okay.
Because we were going from Nashville, kind of just straight up.
Yeah. Because you go straight. So that means you're going that way. You go Indy and then West Lafayette. And then you figure out the way to get into Chicago, if I remember correctly. Because I think we did that drive from Atlanta to Chicago in 9 hours once.
Oh, yeah.
And
you can go in shorter.
Yeah, and it was overnight, and so there were no officers on the road, and we left at midnight and got into a Hardee's in Indianapolis when it opened at 5 a.m. and we shocked them by getting right there at 5 a.m.
Wow, they were probably shocked. They're
5 hours from Atlanta to Indy. That was the fun part, and then going through the snow and working our way up that way.
Oh, yeah.
what is the rest of your week like?
Ooh, well, we're gearing up. We're doing a couple KSU basketball games up here. I'll be doing some little reporting for some of those. So I'll be doing some of those, and then I'll be working production for some of those games as well. That's kind of pretty much the bulk of the week right now. It's just gearing up for those like 4 games, because it's not like they're like we have one Wednesday and then one on the weekend. It's like literally Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yes.
And it switches. So we have women's, men. No, it's men's, women's, men's, women's.
Yes.
So it's a lot of fun. So if y'all want to come to the Convocation Center to watch it, y'all absolutely should.
What she said. So that's Maddie, and she's going to have Prem and Proper in her mind as we come on Friday as well. Prem and Proper gets released. Welcome back. Hope that the holiday was what you wished. Did you get your pony for Christmas, by the way?
See, I did not get a pony for Christmas, unfortunately, but I did get a lot of good things. I'm very content with what I got. Was very happy.
Okay. At Madison Cruise 7 on the 280 character app, Maddie is going to be just busting her, tail, doing a bunch of different things for us as she always does, and at Kennesaw. So literally, she's either going to be here or there. One of those 2 places. You'll know where Maddie is. She's either going to be on the Kennesaw campus or she's going to be hanging out with us doing stuff. That's the official term. Maddie, as always, great to have you back. Great to get you back here in 24, and we will be catching up with you soon, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of your week.
There we go. That's Maddie. And so Maddie's going to do work or something productive, as maybe productive. It's a Monday. It's all in the pacing. So we'll see. Before we go, I wanted to kind of vent my spleen a little bit. And the reason that I wanted to do it on this particular topic is because as much as it comes to giving air to certain individuals and their points of view, however incredibly misguided they are, I wanted to make sure, and in these situations, I'm torn. Do we give the individual air, or do we make an example of the individual so we don't forget and continue to be at the forefront of making sure that individuals that don't deserve the time of day continue to get called out when they do really dumb things? And it is about someone who, frankly, needs to be pulled off of every television screen, every piece of paper, every 280 character app, every piece of social media for particular thoughts on a topic. And it's about Joey Bart and how we have to continue to be vigilant about idiots like Joey Barton, no matter how idiotic they are. I'm going to recap briefly what he said, because it is profoundly idiotic. And it's I mean, it is just, you can't, and what I'm trying to do legitimately is I'm trying to make sure that when he does rants like he does, that he doesn't get the time of day. How he doesn't think that women have any business doing anything when it comes to punditry, when it comes to women describing the men's game. It is just absolutely ridiculous. And he uses language that is just, I mean, it's profoundly classless. And he likes to use words that, we will work our way around. Comparing two female pundits to serial killers. Eni Aluko and Lucy Ward. This was on ITV Thursday. And this is how long I've held on to this topic. The Fred and Rose West of football commentary. And by the way, for those who don't know, the Wests murdered 12 women and young girls over the course of 20 years. How is she even, and this is referring to Eni Aluko, how is she even talking about men's football? She can't even kick a ball properly. Your coverage of the game of Everton Football Club last night took it to a new low. ITV went ahead and condemned the comments for Joey Barton. And when you have individuals who feel that they should be able to say whatever they want, it's classless. And I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole. It's not the first time that he's said these kinds of sexist, negative things. Yeah, Abby, Joey Barton, and he has, and Alex loves him some Newcastle legend, has disavowed any connection to Joey Barton. And it wasn't a passing comment. Every single time that there are female pundits attached to the men's game, Joey Barton feels compelled to sit there and say, well, because they never played women's football, they have no business doing it. And then when you decide to sit there and compare their style to British serial killers, well, and Dell, to your point, Joey Barton does not deserve the time of day. But the reason that I wanted to bring it up is the larger picture. There are individuals like that who feel that because they have a microphone, a keyboard, whatever, they have access to the outside of the planet, outside of their own little room, that they should be able to say whatever they want, no matter how sexist, ill-informed, and idiotic it is. And he's been getting into rant matches on the 280 character app with other pundits, knowing that they pay their bills, blah, blah, blah. But it's situations like what he presents to the table that are dangerous. And we can't just let it sit idly by. There are constructive ways to point out stupidity. And I would ask that when we see individuals like this, that we make sure that they're exposed, that they're pointed out. I mean, Joey is drifted in occasionally to be an expert and a color guy and all these kinds of things. Right, Dell, and this is the point. Dell, don't engage with him, but make an example out of him. And not just, it is. That's a good way to put it. And not just Barton specifically, but individuals like Joey Barton. They like to mouth off, to say outrageous things. Some folks believe what they say, some don't, because they understand that it's a work and they want to try to, boost their own Q rating or credibility or access or what have you. Hey, he's a lightning rod. Ooh, let's go listen to him. But when you say idiotic things, these folks need to be exposed for who they are. Bottom line. Joey Barton is the most recent example of it, and Joey likes to hear Joey talk. Joey likes to see Joey type. So when you don't expose idiots for being idiots, it allows that to continue. And his comments are sexist, they're idiotic, They're wrong. They're ill-informed, but that's what he has stuck to his MO. So just to end the show today, and I know that what the weather in the Southeast is going to be pretty crappy. Like I said, tomorrow, if I'm on the air, it's because the house has survived, or I've found my charger for my Wi-Fi pack. You see, idiots find ways to constructively not get dragged down into their conversation, but expose them for who they are. No matter how tiring it is, if we stop and we ignore it, then it will continue to go. So, like I said, that's my mini rant for today. Just to keep your eyes peeled for idiots, and don't let them win the day. Yep, Dell, this is the week that I am staring at the Gulf of Mexico. This is anniversary week. So I'm at the Gulf of Mexico this week, staring at the Gulf over there all week long. Doing the show here, staring at the Gulf when I get past a couple of walls. But that's the show for today. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. We'll be doing stuff. That's the official turn back at 9:05. And hopefully we'll be talking about fun things and not idiots. So for Maddie, for Drew, for Bart, for you, for everybody, it's another round of SDH. Back at it again, 9:05. Play it safe. It's the end of the show. If I can find it quickly, that means that we get to do this. Back at it again tomorrow.